Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. John Michael Salvato here, and welcome to another installment of Inner Alchemy, the science of spiritual living. This, for those of you who may not be familiar with us, is part of our weekly program, the Peak Performance Blueprint. On Fridays, our focus shifts from strategies and tactics that we might use on a more practical level to build our business, improve our relationships, grow a more productive and abundant life. To a focus more on the spiritual side of things, so that we've got that balance there and we can really start to restore homeostasis in the 6 dimensions of wellness. Today, we're really fortunate that our program is actually being led by my co-host, Reverend Robert Brzezinski. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and just pass it off to Robert, and he's going to take it from there.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you might be in the world. And if you're watching this at a later time and not live, hey, welcome, and really glad that you're investing some time in what we're doing here and what we've got to share here. Because for me, one of the most important things that we have to deal with is our relationship with our finances, our expression of prosperity, consciousness, and how that works in the world. Many, many years ago, I was working with a wonderful woman. She's still around. Her name is Kathleen Gage, and she's a great internet marketer. And at that time, she was focusing specifically on supporting women. And occasionally, she'd let a few open-hearted men slip into the audience. And I watched her share a number of times with different audiences. We can kind of look at life in a way that there are 2 types of people. There are those that want to make a lot of money, and there's those people that want to save the world. Now, from my perspective, we're going to also remember we really don't need to be saved from anything. However, if we stay with this concept, her question to her audience was always the same. How much money does it take to save the world? And so we cannot allow ourselves to be in one of those 2 camps. I'm not here to make a lot of money, and I'm not here to save the world. What I am here to do is to cultivate a consciousness of prosperity, where money is a natural experience in my life, where money itself is not the cause. Money is the effect of having a consciousness of abundance and prosperity. Now, there's many ways to go about doing that, right? And we'll talk about some of those later. One of the things I love is, yes, we do a lot of practical tools and a lot of practical applications throughout the week. And Friday, we get to do some of that too. And then before we're done here today, I'll present some practical tools that you can use to increase your own consciousness around money, prosperity, abundance, and your relationship to these various aspects of life. I love that the old saying, what comes around goes around. And in yesterday's blog, Dr. John Michael, gratefully, thank you, sir, reminded me of something I said a couple of years ago. Because as I sat and prepared for what I'm sharing today, I didn't think to look back and look at what I had said a couple of years ago. However, I do find that it was still very, very applicable. Prosperity is not something you pray for. It's a place you pray from. Prosperity is what I come from. It's about that consciousness. It's the nature of all of us. Every one of us is prosperous at our very nature. And if we take prosperity and we look at it in another way, then we get, for me, an expression of prosperity is abundance. Now, a lot of people use abundance as a word tied directly to their finances, directly to their money supply. That's not the real hierarchy expression of it. Abundance is all around us. And the classic examples, take a look at how many grains of sand. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? How many different bugs do we have? Leaves do we have? If you're anywhere, it's fallen the north half of the planet right now, and the leaves are starting to fall here in Colorado. There is an abundance of work to do. And all of that is about my consciousness as well. I like to use the leaves as a great example. Now's the time we're going to get some bags, and when we do leaves, I like to think of it as we take all of this stuff, we've got all of this, and we put it in the bag. But that's not enough, because if I just throw some leaves in the bag, it's going to take too many bags to fill up to clean my lawn. So I've got to press that down a bit. And now I've got room for some more leaves. And now I've got room for some more leaves. And what happens is, eventually, I press down hard enough that everything becomes overflowing. That's how the nature of life works. So, in my sharing today, I'm not encouraging you to push too hard on any one thing, but to keep that idea that the more we add to the bag, the more leaves we put in, then the greater our reward will be at the end, the more overflowing abundance we will have. And I get it. New Thought likes to teach that we speak in affirmations, we speak in a language that says, this is what I expect to, I anticipate experiencing, this is my desire. And people teach people all the time, right? How many affirmations? I am rich and I am abundant and my wallet is overflowing and bursting with money and all my accounts have 7 figures. And the internal part of us is going, yeah, that might be good for you, but that ain't what's happening in my life. I get that. It's not about trying to lie to ourselves or convince ourselves of something we can't believe. It's about creating a mental equivalent that we are valuable and worthy of having everything we desire, of having a rich, abundant life. Over the last few months, I've been listening to a newer perspective on this message that is more directly tied to what we're doing in our businesses than it has been what I've been doing in my spiritual business and my spiritual work. And one of the phrases that I keep hearing and that I keep loving and everybody keeps talking about is, I'm working on growing my fortune. I want you to invite you to consider that what we're really working on is working on a consciousness that says it's okay to have a fortune, that it's okay to be prosperous. Because what I trust of this group specifically, and really what I know is, if this wasn't part of you, what I'm about to share, you wouldn't even be in the room. You wouldn't be connected with Dr. John Michael. You wouldn't even have found what I'm saying, because if you're in this room, there's something within you that really cares about humanity. You're not here to be Scrooge McDuck and have a cavern full of gold. You're not here to just amass some huge number and find your way into the 1% and cheat yourself and cheat your way out of taxes. Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute, I have to stop there. I might go somewhere I shouldn't. You're here because you care about the evolution of human consciousness. Now, you may not have heard it that way before, but I feel pretty confident knowing myself, John Michael, you're here because you care. Now, part of that caring is we need to care for the self first. We need to bring ourself into the game and make sure that my oxygen mask is on, that I'm being cared for, that I have what's necessary for my life to move freely. And I'm constantly in that place of caring and receiving, giving and receiving. You know, we talk about money a lot and our relationship to it. I ask you, is your relationship with money an open one? Or are you sort of a codependent, overly controlling spouse who doesn't trust your partner in this relationship? You know, I say that because I know that was my life for a while, for quite a long time. I didn't trust myself with money. I didn't trust myself that I was giving money to the right places. And therefore, my relationship with money was not that good. along the way, I've developed this consciousness, this prosperity consciousness that says, wait a minute, there's always more than enough. And I have enough to share, and I have enough to give, and there's always enough to do what's necessary in my life. Now, I've found that as I step into a bigger mission, as I step into a more authentic expression of my calling on the planet, then more money shows up. That's again, the money is the effect. So we still have to figure out the way to shift our consciousness. I would love to be able to just snap my fingers, wave my Harry Potter wand, and poof, you all have the prosperity consciousness of anyone you wanted in the world. You had the Midas touch. But it takes time. Ernest Holmes has a great saying that the time it takes for a demonstration is proportional to the amount of time it takes us to change our beliefs and then accept those beliefs as true. With money, my experience and prosperity is many of us have a challenge in that because we've been taught a whole lot of crap way back in our lives. And I'm going to take a quick detour because I look at the clock on my computer and I notice that it's 11:11 in my time frame, which means it's 1:11 your time frame. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but we're going to take a quick moment here to do a quick spiritual mind 1-minute miracle and say that life is abundant, God is abundant, I am abundant, and everything's happening in my life for the highest and the best good of everyone involved. There's a grand and glorious mission in my life, and now the clock has changed to 11:12 and I'm good and I'm done. And so it is. It's that kind of stuff that will shift our consciousness. So I'll start there with the 1-minute miracle. I forget where I first heard this. And I want you to know when I first heard it, I was, oh, come on, this is silly. And yet, where our attention goes, energy flows. So somewhere along the line, the concept of 11:11 comes into my consciousness, whether it's the date, November 11th, or whether it's the time on the clock, 11:11. And it originally was presented as, when you see that, take a moment and pray. And why not pray for your abundance? It's a mindfulness practice. Okay. Well, I've got a couple of kids, and the kids get involved, and they start taking off on it. So now it's 11:11, it's 2:22, it's 3:33. My son will get to the point where it's 12:12, right on. My daughter's gotten to the point where it's, well, wait a minute, it's 12:34. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then my son figured out, well, wait a minute, we could go backwards, and it's 4:32. And the point is 3:21. The point is, find the ways that interrupt your normal and habitual forms of thinking to allow for brief moments of reminding yourself of the prosperity consciousness which is inherently yours. Now, once I started that, it's amazing. And it used to be, oh, I'd see it once every couple of days, I'd notice. Now, without any attempt on my part, I'll notice 6 or 7 or 8 of these a day. I will find myself going, hey, 3:33, and you know what? I remember seeing 2:22 today too, also. And before long, I find myself doing prayer, spiritual mind treatment, brief, powerful. It's just for me. Nobody else has to hear it. If the kids are around and they hear it, that's cool. But we're constantly reinforcing our consciousness with messages of prosperity and abundance. I was teaching a class last night, and one of the students said, well, it's kind of like we're rewiring our brain and and we're doing our own training of our own brains. And my response was, exactly. And if that's not happening, I'm not doing my job. If I'm not providing you the avenues to retrain yourself, I don't want you to do any of the stuff I'm talking about if it becomes a chore, if it's a pain in your butt. But I invite you to explore various opportunities. So take notice of what time shows up on your clock and do a quick prayer. Every time you cross a threshold, so you walk out of your office into the hallway, as I pass under that threshold, my life is abundant. As I pass under the threshold from the hallway into the bathroom, my life is abundant. My life is prosperous. If you're a journaler, I'm going to do a couple shameless plugs here. One of my favorites currently, and I'll hold this up, is the Joyous Abundance Journal. And it's by a couple of Science of Mind ministers, Petra Weldis and Christian Sorensen. It's a 366-day journal. This one's specifically around abundance, and you just write your notes right in the book. You just write them right on in the book. And they've got several of these. This one's specifically around abundance. Somebody gave me a little sticky purple heart, blue heart recently, and I wrote in it, "I am prosperous," and slapped it on the top of the book. If you're in for a little bit less of a commitment, that's a full year journal. If you're into something a little less of a commitment, a little more of traditional and historic, John Randolph Price's The Abundance Book. This is perhaps one of the most influential prosperity practices I have ever done in my life. This little book. And if you know of a New Thought church anywhere or center anywhere near you, this is probably in their bookstore somewhere. And the beauty of it is he has a spiritual practice in here that you can read the book in 20 minutes, half an hour. What's important is he's got a 40-day practice, a journaling practice in here as well. It's another way to do it. I will also give you a shameless self-promotion there. I put a link in the chat box. That will take you to a sign up for my daily email. And I say that very specifically. It's daily. You will get one of these every single day at 5 a.m. Eastern. This comes into your email inbox. Now, it's not always about abundance. Some days it's about other aspects, but every day it's an affirmation, it's an explanation of the principle, and it's a call to action, something for you to put your mind on, a mindfulness practice for the day. Some days it's an activity. Go out and hug everyone you meet, smile at everyone you meet. But it's all about creating a sense of mindfulness to jumpstart our day and carry us through the day. And you can read all of them you can read each one each day within 30 seconds to a minute. They're not a huge piece to read every day. It's a nice, quick little 6 to 7 sentences total usually. So I invite you to take advantage of those things. But most importantly, I invite you to develop a practice for yourself that reminds you on a daily basis that prosperity and abundance are your absolute birthright. They are the nature of your life. And as I open up to that truth, then the expression of that, the result of that consciousness is cold hard cash, is money, is the various streams of money and the various forms of income that source and support our lives. Really, at the core of it, what I know is there is one unlimited resource out there. It fuels, it funds, and it sources our lives. Now, I call that God, but I'm open for you to call that whatever you want to call that. And my favorite fun little thing is call it George, if that works for you. But no matter what, you got to call it. You have to be in a relationship with that consciousness that knows no limits, that consciousness that knows absolute abundance and prosperity as your divine birthright. So I thank you for listening. I think I got this completed in a little under 20 minutes there, so I'm going to kick this back over to John Michael and say thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. Peace and blessings.
Wow, thank you, thank you. That was amazing, and I just signed up because I don't know how I missed signing up for that daily thing all this time. So now I'm excited. And thank you so much for just on so many levels. I've got so many notes that I've taken, and I think that at the end, what really struck me, what really resonated, and I felt like, aha, here's kind of the jumping off point for everybody. I want you guys to think about this along with everything else that Robert shared. But remember, he said that he doesn't care what you call that source. We have to cultivate a relationship. What has the focus of the Peak Performance Program been from day one? It's about that if you want to succeed in your business, you have to cultivate relationships every single day. Well, this really, at the end of the day, is no different. It's not, see, a lot of us get hung up because and I'll share a quick story with you guys before we let you guys jump in. Whenever I find myself struggling, and this week that happened because I realized that in one particular business transaction that I was going to be positioning myself. I really screwed myself up by not getting all of the facts about the compensation plan and the details and the subtle nuances ahead of time. So I put myself in a position where I was shorting myself money. And my focus in that moment was on the money, not on money just being the effect of the abundance. And so when you're focused on, that was a stupid mistake. And yeah, it's good that we learn in business, we learn how to do things that actually bring money in instead of losing money. That's fine. I'm not saying don't be practical, but I'm saying don't get caught up in it. So I had to spend a half an hour really working. I had to turn off the computer, walk away, and say, why am I getting worked up over a mistake? Because mistakes are learning opportunities, and it doesn't matter. So this was an opportunity for me to learn better placement in my organization. This was an opportunity for me to learn to ask better questions in the beginning. But it wasn't, I had to realize this isn't about money. This is about abundance and prosperity. And money is just the effect. That there is a cause, excuse me, and source of all supply. And money, as I like to say, money is God in action. It isn't the thing so we don't chase money. We don't have any need to chase money because abundance can come to you. Think about this. And then I'm going to let you guys jump in. This was how one of my teachers, the late Dr. Kennedy Schultz, put it when we were doing some particular work on rebuilding. I had just lost a $26,000 a month income with another company. And Ken and I were sitting in another group that we were part of outside of the Centers for Spiritual Living, and Ken said, John Michael, I see you hurting, and I see you hurting because you're as Robert said, as it was actually part of the sentence that Ken said, because you're chasing money, and you want that money back that you had when you were making $26,000 a month. And you chase money, money continues to run, because it plays the game that you set the rules for. But he said, what I want you to ask yourself is, what did that money bring you in your life? And I wasn't spending $26,000 a month. So he said, so what is the lifestyle that brought you? Now, you can believe that you deserved all of those things that you had in your lifestyle, or maybe for you, it's things you don't have yet, but you can believe and know that you deserve those things. So when we affirm the money, then all the baggage attached to money, all of our lives, comes with it. And then the inner fight goes on. But chances are pretty good that if what you know that you deserve is a beautiful home, a comfortable home, a great, maybe it's the perfect bed, maybe it's just living in a neighborhood where you can take walks, whatever those things are. That's why we tell people it's important to know your why. But whatever those things are, chances are mommy and daddy didn't feed you a bunch of bullshit about living in a nice home. They never told you didn't deserve to live in a good home. They didn't tell you didn't deserve to have nice walks. They might have told you money is the root of all evil. So stop thinking about money. Start thinking about the things that you would do with that money, and the money follows. The money, and then it may be. So what Ken said is, he said, what if you just treated to have that beautiful home again, and not on having the money to buy that beautiful home? And I was like, well, what do you mean? How am I going to get the home otherwise? He said, that's none of your business. Believe that you should have the home. And I did. And I'm here to tell you guys that within 3 months, I had a beautiful home back on the Intercoastal in West Palm Beach in Lake Worth, Florida. That the circumstances of how I got that home were absolutely astounding. Somebody owed me money in the past, hadn't paid me that debt. recognized that I no longer had a $26,000 a month income, and said, hey, we have this $300,000 home, and if you would be willing to accept the home and erase the other $50,000 that we owe you, that could be a good trade. What do you think? And it needs a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there. And next thing you know, I had a $300,000 home without $300,000 in debt or mortgage or out-of-pocket expense. So that's just what I want to leave you guys with, because that's really what was running through my mind as Robert was talking, was how true that was. And Robert, I thank you for on so many levels reminding me of that today, because my challenge for me, and when we do these kind of things as New Thought teachers, a lot of times the big challenge for us is to let our students see some real demonstrations in our lives. And so I made a decision last night that based on what Ken had said, that I'm going to open myself in this moment. Actually started it last night, but we're going to reaffirm it in this moment. I'm going to open myself to an extraordinary demonstration of abundance in the most unexpected of ways. And so I'm putting that out there to the universe that in the most unexpected of ways, there's going to be a demonstration of abundance in my life. And as you guys share, I challenge you today, or if not today, tomorrow, or one of the next days, to make that bold proclamation, that bold declaration. What is it you challenge yourself to do? What do you want to demonstrate? And put it out there in terms of the result that you want, not the money that it takes to get there. So you guys jump in as these motorcycles keep running by out here. I'm going to mute my line again.
This day, today. Hello?
Hi, sorry, I had my mic was muted. Yes, we can hear you. Hi.
Okay, great. Hi. Well, wow, what a mind shift today. There is so much involved in this mind shift from both yourself and Robert there. There's brilliant points brought out by Robert. I particularly like the threshold, walking over the threshold of each room that you're going to. The numbers confused me a bit. I did get it. I did get after he'd said it a few times. But I love the threshold. That's an easy one for me to do. It's easy for me to remember to do that one. So I'm looking forward to trying that. But the whole mind shift, it's a hard one, because you don't want to chase the money, but yet to be practical and living in life, you need money. So you have to get over that mountain, whatever it may be, of do I use too much of my time trying to work my business, which you need to do to earn money, but yet you don't want to be totally focused on the money either, because then your whole mind shift should be in helping other people. It should be your focus, not the money. So yeah, it's a hard one. It's like a dance that you have to learn how to do. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to finding out how to do that.
Right on. And I would also say that and I think Robert may have something to add to this as well. A couple things. One, let's let go of the idea that it's a mountain, and could we just make it a rock that you have to step over? Kind of a little rock, maybe this size. And if you're shuffling along, you'll trip on that rock. But if you really make the effort, it's a lot easier to get over than a mountain. And the other thing is I would challenge you to understand that again, look at what your work, why are you doing your business? If you're doing your business for money, that's one thing. But if you're doing your business for the things that money is going to bring into your life, then it becomes a lot more natural, a lot easier. And then now we just eliminated the mountain or the rock, because the money was the obstacle. And I think we all agree with that. Let's get rid of the obstacle. Let's look at why you're actually working. What are you looking to accomplish and get from that money? And as you said, I know you well enough to know, and I think everybody here has kind of gotten to know you enough to know that you are all about helping other people. It's for all of us in this group, in this movement, it's about making a fortune by making a difference. And I like to use that word fortune, because I don't like the word. I don't like to talk about making a lot of money, because for some people, that's not how it's going to manifest. Their fortunes are going to come in many different ways. And so when I know that for you, Ita, I know that your fortune is manifesting now. It's not a, oh, so I have to get over it and then it'll start to manifest. I know that right now that fortune's manifesting in your life. And that's why you're here.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't necessarily speaking about me having a mountain, but I did. I mean, when I first started my business, I was like, oh, well, I can't do this 30-day blast, and I can't do a 90-day blast because my focus should be on other, my family. My focus should be on my religion. My focus should be on God. And that we were brought up to think that money is the evil thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's the actual mountain I was talking. I meant to get over that mindset that we grew up with, to think chasing money was bad. We're not chasing money, but we are trying to do a business to build money to be practical in life. We can't do a lot of things if we don't have money, but chasing this 6-figure and 12-figure income is where the problem could end up, that you're chasing money too much.
For me, I want to chime in on that, because you're speaking to a very, very important aspect of it, Ita. We get to be the conduit. We get to, and you're absolutely right, it takes money for soccer uniforms and to put food on the table and all, right? I don't know of anybody that can live outside of money. Now, this is usually the point where somebody says, well, Gandhi did it pretty well. There's a couple of very famous quotes if you look deeply, and some of his closest handlers said, it takes a lot of money to keep Gandhi poor. It took a huge amount of money to keep him in that position where he could be the avatar that steps away from money in the world. And yet the whole organization still had to have it. So one of the ways I look at it is, the more I bring in, the more I make, the more I have to share. Because I don't need a 70,000 square foot house. My wife would kill me if I said I bought us if I told her I bought a house 3 times the size I have right now, she'd kill me, because I don't want to clean that. And I don't want to have to manage the people that would have to come in to clean it. Truth, you got a 75,000 square foot house. That seems like a lot more trouble than what's necessary. So I've brought myself to a place where this is what's necessary. And then I know that the more successful I am, the more successful my business is, the more money that comes in, that just is a greater amount I can give out. So that I don't have to cheat on my taxes and not pay my share of supporting everyone around me. So that I can give abundantly to my church. So that I can give abundantly to other service projects, or so I can afford to go on a travel service vacation and do a tourist service piece somewhere across the planet. So again, it's that subtle shift. And I sense that you're there. From what I'm hearing, I sense that you're, and so make all you can. Bring in as much as you possibly can, and that increases our ability to give, contribute, and be a beneficial presence on the planet. I look forward to the day when I can give away 80% of what I bring in and live on the 20%. J.K. Rowling's a great example of this. I haven't actually seen the proof, but it's everywhere, and I have to believe it. She's been delisted from the Forbes list of billionaires because she's given away so much money that she's living on almost nothing again. That's a great example. How many of us can go do that? And I think, again, this is the type of group that could make that happen, that can be that in the world. Good for you, Ida. You're on your journey. Keep going, keep it on, girl.
Thanks.
Hey, Katrina, do you have a stable enough connection? Can you jump in there? What are your thoughts?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, one thing that strikes me is really understanding that whatever it is I'm doing or whatever business I'm connected to and promoting, none of that is the source of my income. No person, nothing. It's really about it's about consciousness. It's about where am I about opening to receive what's what the universe has to bestow on me. And I might think it's coming from this business over here, but if I'm at, I'm going to miss what other avenues might be opening before me. So I found, shared with you earlier this week that it occurred to me my attachment to manifesting stability, and I didn't mean that about my internet connection, by the way, but that the very fact that I have the focus on.
You're freezing up, and I think
the need to do that, chasing anything else.
Oh, you're freezing up. So I want people to hear something, to understand something you just said that was important. Earlier this week, Katrina and I were having a conversation, and Katrina said that she realized that at this point in her life, she needs to let go of that focus and yearning for stability in her life, and recognize that it could be an opportunity to be more in the moment and let go of those predefined notions of stability. And I think that's a huge discovery. I really celebrate that. And you, when you were saying it, Katrina, that word disappeared. And yeah, she didn't mean lack of stability of her internet connection. So they missed your joke, and they missed the really great point. But think about what a huge step that is to say, and it's something that for me as a monastic is what I find joy in, because as monastics we give up in the Franciscan tradition, we give up that home. In the Buddhist tradition, we give up having any possessions whatsoever, and we're literally dependent on others for our next meal. That lack of stability for me was, or that lack of attachment to stability, was both the most freeing thing in the world and brought me the greatest sense of real stability, because I discovered that my ideas of stability were all messed up. They weren't really what stability was. And then I found what in the Buddhist tradition we call calm abiding, that ultimate stability that comes from knowing that you're free falling, and that there is no ground beneath your butt. You are in a constant state of free fall, and that is the most incredible stability in the world. If you think about it, the universe isn't sitting on a table somewhere. It's in a constant state of movement and flux and free fall, and in that the universe has its stability.
It's like the ego mind wants to freeze and grab hold of something to feel secure. Right. And our true nature is constant change, constant unfolding, constant evolution. And so, and I find it's not so much that it's hard to shift out of that, it's that it is naturally occurring. That is the shift that's occurring in consciousness. And I can surrender to that and let it carry me, or I can resist. Yeah. And the resist is what's hard.
Yeah.
And I also find that, for me, eliminating the word hard from my vocabulary is really useful. Instead of looking at things as hard, like to achieve balance or to achieve abundance or to make the shift in consciousness, challenging is, I find, a more useful way to consider it. It is challenging me to grow. It's challenging me to shift. And the fact is, our inner true nature intuitively knows exactly how to do that. We're designed to expand and grow. So if I can relinquish all these preconceived attachments, and it's a moment-to-moment deal, you know, if something happens, throws me a curveball, I go into, you know, a deer in the headlights mode, you know, at a moment's notice, but I can find my way through that to let the flow continue to flow and trust it's, even if it's not
Right on. Oh, we're freezing again. Well, Robert, if I could, let me ask you to go ahead and take us out. We're at we went 41 minutes today, but I think it was worth every minute of that 41 minutes. And I don't think anybody that's watching on the replay is going to have found any better way to spend that extra 10 minutes. So if you wouldn't mind, just bring us out with a mind treatment. Although really, it feels like this entire class today has been one big, great, glorious mind treatment. But I'll let you wrap us up.
Absolutely. And I agree. It has been one grand, glorious experience from start to finish. There's been one thing going on here, and that's good. That is good. That is that universal power of love and light and beauty and truth, abundance, prosperity that's operating through and as everything. In every expression, in every breath, in every heartbeat, there is an abundance, there is that prosperity bringing itself forward, expressing itself as my life, as the lives of each one here, each one listening to this call now or in the future, each one part of this unique combination of things, this unique expression called spiritual living, calling life. And so I am just in that place of knowing absolute abundance, absolute prosperity as the wellspring, the truth, the operative truth behind each one here. For each one represents that power in a unique and magnificent way. Oh, that John Michael and Katrina, Ida, myself, we each bring God forward, each bring this abundance consciousness, this prosperity consciousness forward in a unique and magnificent way, bringing gifts that ours are only mine to bring. I am grateful for this reminder, grateful to know this is the truth, and grateful to know it's already so in my mind, already so in God's mind. And I let it all be. I let go. I let God be God. So it is.
And
amen.
so it is. Well, everybody, Robert, thank you so very much. And everybody, thank you for participating today. And remember that challenge. Make that bold declaration, even if it's in quiet, even if it's something you're not comfortable sharing. But if you're comfortable sharing it, why not make that bold declaration on the blog itself, so that a year from now you can go back, or 3 months from now you can go back and look and say, wow, look, I made that bold declaration and it happened. It manifested in my life. And I'll keep you guys posted as I made my declaration that a demonstration of these principles will happen in the most unexpected of ways. So I thank you, Robert, again so much. Thank you, Ita and Katrina, for sharing, and for those who are watching on the blog post, thank you in advance for your comments on the blog. And we will look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Stay in the moment. Be grateful for everything you've got. And always remember, the best is yet to come. We'll talk to you guys soon. Love ya.